National Early Signing Day 2021 is in the books, and this is for the 2022 recruiting class. But let's talk about what kind of day Auburn had. If you'd listen to people like Paul Feinbaum, you would be thinking, you know what? Brian Harsin can't recruit in the SEC, so there's no way he's going to get a good recruiting class. But little did Paul Feinbaum know that he was completely wrong. Let's talk about what our recruiting class looks like so far, who we got on offense, who we got on defense for this early signing period. So first up, let's talk about the offense. On offense, here are the recruits that signed with us today, or the past 2 days. Damari Alston, who's a running back. He's 5'10 and 205 pounds. We had Camden Brown, 6'3", 190 pounds, and he is a wide receiver. On the offensive line, this was our only offensive line recruit. We had Eston Harris Jr., 6'5", 300 pounds. Another wide receiver. We had two other wide receiver recruits. Omari Kelly, who is 6'2", 180 pounds. And we also had Jay Fair, 5'11", 175 pounds. And I think Jay Fair is definitely going to be one of those players we want to watch. He could be an impact player right away. Next, we had Micah Riley Ducker, 6'6", 235 pounds, and he is a tight end. And finally, Holden Gariner, 6'3", 210 pounds, and he is a quarterback recruit. On the defensive side of the ball, we just killed it on the defensive side of the ball, and it was incredibly impressive the amount of high-quality recruits that Derek Mason and his defensive staff were able to get, and they greatly improved our recruitment class overall. So let's talk about some of those recruits. We had Robert Woodyard, 6'1", 210 pounds, and he's a linebacker. Keontae Scott, 6'0", 185 pound cornerback. Powell Gordon is a 6'3", 215 pound linebacker. Nice Sledge, 6'3", 315 pounds, defensive tackle. Marquise Gilbert, 6'2", 180 pounds, defensive back. We had a slew of defensive backs. Jadarian Rim, 6'1", 175 pounds, defensive back. And Austin Osbury, 6 feet, 195 pounds, defensive back. And finally, Caleb Wooden, 6'2", 185 pounds, safety. And then a recruit we very much needed, I think he's a 5-star kicker, Alex McPherson out of Fort Payne High School, 5'10", 155 pounds, and he has just been incredible in his high school career, and he's going to be a very welcomed and much needed addition to Auburn's football team. Now, based on what we saw today, the question on a lot of people's mind was, how is this going to affect our national recruiting ranking, and how will this affect our SEC recruiting ranking? We have been suffering in both. We've hovered around the 35 to 40 range in national recruiting ranking, and we've been last or second to last in SEC recruiting. So that was about 13 or 14 out of 14 in the SEC. Well, with all these recruits we've been able to sign today and yesterday, we have greatly improved overall. So let's talk about our national recruiting ranking first. Auburn has improved all the way to number 15 nationally in the recruiting rankings. So that is a very impressive jump from Auburn, and some of those commits we signed today are the reason for that. Once we got that letter signed, our ranks just jumped through the roof compared to where we were. As far as the SEC ranking goes, I've complained all season long about how bitter I was about us being ranked below Vanderbilt in particular. That was just embarrassing to me. But luckily, we've improved greatly, and the stats I'm giving you, or the rankings I'm giving you, are coming from 24/7 Sports, just so you know. And according to 24/7 Sports, Auburn is currently ranked number 7 in the SEC, which is a drastic improvement from number 13 or 14. So could we be better overall? Absolutely, we could. But is this an improvement? 100% yes. And I think I have to say that I'm impressed with how far Brian Harsin and his staff have taken this recruiting class. Is there anything I'm impressed with? One, I'm impressed with how he handled the recruiting day. I thought it was very interesting the way he did this. If you did not see it, go over on Auburn's Twitter account, Auburn Football's Twitter account. They did some very interesting things with how they announced the recruits. It was very NFL style. It was really cool. And then the other thing I have to say is that I think they put in a lot of time, a lot of effort to get some of these recruits at the last minute. As far as disappointment goes, there's 2 recruits I'm disappointed about. I mentioned it in a video I made earlier that I did not think we would get these recruits, so I'm not too disappointed, but I still had some hope that we would get these 2 guys. So the 2 guys that we tried to kind of shoot for the moon for and we did not get were Darius Clemens and Curtis Perry. Unfortunately, both of those commits went the way I predicted they would go. Curtis Perry ended up committing to Alabama, and Darius Clemens committed to Michigan, just like I mentioned I thought they would commit to in an earlier video. That being said, we were fortunate with getting a flip from Alabama to Auburn with Robert Woodyard. So we did make that flip happen, even though we did have the disappointment with Darius Clemens and Curtis Perry. Overall, here's my thoughts. I'm very happy with how this has turned out so far. We still have until February to lock in a few recruits. I think the biggest story we want to watch between now and February is what happens with Caden Story. He originally was going to commit to Auburn today, and then he talked with his dad, and I guess he and his dad decided that he was going to wait until February to commit. The reason being, so why would he wait until February to commit? My guess is he's hoping for a better offer from a different school. Some people think that he's waiting to see if he gets an offer from Alabama. If that happens, I hate that for Auburn, but honestly, I want people who want to be at Auburn to come to Auburn. Caden Story still claims, and his dad still claims, that he wants to be at Auburn, but until he signs that paper, I will reserve my judgment and reserve what I think. But I'm not going to get my hopes up until that paper is actually signed. Overall, I am very happy with the early recruitment period, the early recruiting day that we just had. I had very low expectations going in, and Brian Harsin and his crew did a much better job than I was expecting. So I'm very pleased with today, as I think a lot of Auburn fans are. There's a little disappointment, but there was a lot of positive that came out of today. So I think Brian Harsin and his team did a great job, and I think we're in a good place going forward. The one area I do hope we get some more recruits for is our offensive line. We had that one recruit, but that is not going to be enough to keep us going into the next couple of years. So I do hope we see some more offensive line recruits sign with Auburn in February, but we'll just have to see what happens between now and then. I hope you enjoyed this recap of Auburn's early signing day overall. I enjoyed keeping up with what happened today, and I hope you did too. And I hope you'll watch the next one. Thank you again for watching. War Eagle.